Hey everyone, it's Cece. So I did a video yesterday on my Chromebook and I can't get it to upload to YouTube, so I'm going to use my cell phone to record the video on my Chromebook. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this video we're going to have a little story time. I'm going to tell you about an experience I had in my life that I had a very hard time overcoming, and I really didn't have any family support and things when this happened. So 10 years ago, I met this guy, and I fell in love with him. He fell in love with me really quick within a matter of days. The only problem with that is him and I both have had mental illnesses. I still have a mental illness. I have PTSD and manic depression. Both of us had suffered abuse as a child. He had suffered physical abuse, and I had suffered emotional and sexual abuse as a child. And I had also lost my grandfather, who was schizophrenic, to suicide as a child, and it was the grandfather that saved me from the sexual abuse, that took me in and raised me for several years until I was about 12 years old. He committed suicide. I did not see this. He left the house and had went to our local lake and did it. So I already had a lot of emotional problems, and Brett, that's his name, he had a lot of emotional problems because his dad physically and emotionally abused him. And he got really attached to me really quick, and he was very, very clingy with me. And I'll be honest, it made me feel good that he was that crazy about me. But what I didn't know at the time is that it was a very unhealthy relationship. So, several months into the relationship, we have an argument one day, and I tell him that I'm going home, and that I never want to see him again. So I go outside, and he comes to the door and looks at me, and he's standing in the middle of the door, and he wanted to talk to me, but I was being selfish because I was upset because he had called me a bitch. So he went back into the house, and I felt bad. So I walked up on the steps, and the main door was open, but I could see through the glass, and I saw that he had picked up a gun. And he knew my grandfather had committed suicide, so I thought that he was trying to scare me because he had threatened to kill himself before. And I told him that was very selfish of him to say things like that to me because I had lost my grandfather to suicide, who is like my dad. Anyways, by the time I open up the glass door and stick one foot in, he sticks a 12 gauge pump under his chin, and he blows his head off in front of me. And excuse me, I didn't expect to cry. Sometimes I can talk about it without crying, and sometimes I can't. It was the most horrific thing in the world. It's very, very hard for me. I didn't have family that supported me. My parents really didn't care much about me. They were emotionally abusive. I was sexually abused by a family member, I told, and no one did anything about it. But, anyways, I just didn't have any support, and I just didn't know what to do. I can remember after it happened being in my bedroom and thinking to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? Because it just replays and replays in your mind. So I turned to drugs. I started doing pills. lots and lots of pills. I would do the Rococet 30s, which are really strong pills, and I got very, very addicted to pills. And I was on drugs several years. And the reason I turned to drugs is I didn't know what else to do, and I just needed that to go out of my mind. But what people don't realize when they abuse drugs, it will make it go away for a short time, but then it comes back. Anyways, few years of being on drugs, 4 or 5 years, I decided that wasn't the life for me. So I went to rehab. I had been to rehab several times before, but this time it wasn't really rehab. I went to a psychiatric hospital. Of course, they did give me medicine for withdrawals and things like that. I was diagnosed with manic depression and PTSD. But anyways, I straightened up my life. I met my husband, Mark, who is very, very supportive. I couldn't tell you how many times I have cried to him about the suicide and Brett. And I loved Brett. And it really, really hurt me when he committed suicide. And I have dealt with a lot of guilt over it. I still deal with a lot of guilt over it. And it's very, very hard sometimes because I don't have friends in my real world here. You know, I have friends like I talk to online, but to be honest, I don't have any close friends online either. And I saw all these women forming these groups, you know, because of all the Go Lightly and the Mrs. Analyzer, Lady A drama. So I thought, you know, I'm going to start my own channel and just share this story with you guys because, you know, there's a lot of people that's mean to each other online, and you really just don't know what anyone has been through in their life. Like, you know, I always try to comment positive things, but by looking at my comments and things, you wouldn't think that I have been through all these things in my life. And I'm just 38 years old. I was sexually abused. My father figure, my grandfather killed himself. Then I got a boyfriend, and he decided to do the same thing and commit suicide. So you just don't really ever know what's going on in someone else's life. And I'm so sorry. I got upset and started crying, but it's very, very emotional. But I just wanted to share my story. And you know, if I had had a good support system and a family that loved me and cared about me back when this suicide happened, I think things could have been different. But it has made me a stronger person. Everything that I have been through in my life has made me actually a good person. I have so much empathy and sympathy and love in my heart for others. And I hope by sharing this, this can help someone in some way. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you know someone who's witnessed a suicide or tried to commit suicide. Maybe you could show them a few kind words and a little bit of support. Believe me, that goes a long ways, guys. Well, thank you for listening to my story. I plan on doing some more videos, and we'll talk about some true crime. I want to talk about the lady that was in the vegetative state that someone raped and she had a baby in the nursing home. I want to talk about that, and we'll talk about all kinds of different true crime, and of course we'll talk about some juicy gossip as well. And I hope to make some friends here on YouTube, guys. Well, I'm out for now. I have got to take Miss Ladybug and Skylar out and my other two dogs out. So make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and turn the notification bells on, guys. Peace.